All right, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking about weight loss plateaus and how to manage them. This video is going to be for anyone who has felt stuck in their journey. They're like, I've tried everything in the book and I just can't seem to budge. And I want to go through four main things in this video. I want to go through what exactly is a weight loss plateau, why a plateau occurs, what we can do about a plateau, and why our weight doesn't necessarily paint the whole picture. Okay, so starting with what is a weight loss plateau. So I feel like a lot of people get confused about a plateau. They see the scale not moving for like a week and they're like, oh man, like I've lost all my, I just can't seem to break through, right? So the time horizon at which we look at a plateau, I feel like is just completely not perceived accurately. So essentially a true plateau is when we stay stagnant for roughly a month or longer. And I say that because day to day and week to week, there are so many variables that affect our bodies. Our bodies are such complex systems where our sodium intake, our stress levels, our sleep, our hydration, our variability in our food, our hormones, there's so many different variables that can affect our bodily changes day to day and week to week. And the more things that we can control when we are actually dieting, the better chance it gives us to know when to make the adjustments. So in short, what is a weight loss plateau? It's going to be when you're actually stagnant for roughly a month or longer. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about why a plateau occurs. And in order to illustrate this, we have to understand the concept of energy balance. And this in its most simplistic form, energy balance, so our bodies maintain a certain weight because of two things. There's the energy going in, which is the food that we eat, and then there's the energy that goes out, which is essentially all the it's the calories that we burn essentially. And that comes down to a combination of our daily movement, so like our walking, the chores that we do, our actual structured exercise, the calories that are burned in our digestion, and then the rest of it is just the regular bodily functions that our body processes, which also does burn energy. Things like breathing, transporting blood, the heart beating, stuff like that. All those in total are gonna make up the calories that our body expends each day. And when we don't change, what it means is that energy balance is completely the same. So what we put into our body is exactly the same amount as our body is leaving. And some people might be like, oh, I've tried everything. Like I swear, like it's got to be my hormones, or it's got to be this, it's got to be that. And there's always going to be so many variables at play. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that we are empowered to control any adjustments that need to be made regardless of the things that we can't control. So why do I say this? I'm going to go to an extreme example, okay? We're all familiar with the concept of starvation. In an extreme example, our body is always going to constantly be burning energy. It needs to burn energy to breathe, to pump blood, to do all those things that I mentioned. And we're all, going to be walking each day. We're going to be, just moving around, doing the dishes, stuff like that. Our body's naturally going to be burning energy. And if we ate absolutely nothing, I guarantee you, if we ate absolutely nothing for like a week, 2 weeks, your body's going to go into starvation mode. It has no choice but to start, eating away at itself. And then you'll kind of go into starvation mode. So in the extreme example, that energy balance, what you basically did is you took out all the food, body's going to be moving a lot more, and then your body's going to change. Now, obviously that's an extreme example, but the same applies to the energy balance. When we're eating a regular day's food, we have to understand that the reason we're not changing is because that energy balance is completely still. Okay? Now, why it's not moving, that's a different conversation in itself. A lot of the time, it could be a lack of knowledge on how to properly keep track of all the variables needed to actually change. It could be lack of personal accountability for a lot of people, honestly. There's been plenty of studies that have shown this in controlled environments where majority of subjects will underestimate how much they eat and overestimate how much they move. That just comes down to not properly understanding how to keep track of these things. But again, that's a conversation for another story. Okay, so that's number 2, why a plateau occurs. Okay, number 3, what do you actually do about this? Okay, let's say you're stuck and you're like, okay, I just want to do something about it. Okay, so because we understand that energy balance, which comes down to, the food we consume and the amount of energy we burn each day, we can do 3 things. We can either reduce the food or change our nutrition, which will put us more in a caloric deficit. We can increase the daily calorie expenditure, so walk more each day, do more exercise, just move more throughout the day essentially, and also implement better habits like better sleep, prioritizing more protein throughout the day, things like that. Those will all help the energy balance. So it's either modify the food, increase the activity, or a combination of both. Okay, for most people, a combination of both honestly is going to just give them the best balance. But here's what's more important. Okay, so if I'm just talking to you right now and I'm like, move more, eat less, that doesn't mean anything. And I think this is where a lot of people just get frustrated. They're like, they hear this and like, what does that mean? Like, I've been trying everything. Like, what does that mean? And what it comes down to is actually changing our daily behavior, implementing new things in our routine, basically adding in certain actions. Here's exactly what I mean. When it comes to our daily movement, instead of just saying move more, let's say you're already controlling as many variables as possible. You're already walking 10,000 steps a day in your regular routine. What we're going to do to increase activity is we're going to say every day at 6 a.m., I'm going to do at least a 30-minute walk. And what that's going to do, that specific action, it's going to essentially automatically boost our daily step count with our regular routine from 10,000 to 12,000 2000. So instead of just arbitrarily saying, I'm gonna hit like a certain number, you have to plan an action into your routine. So in this case, we're gonna plan to put in a 30-minute walk in the morning on top of our regular routine, and then that will help to actually increase daily activity. On the other side, on the food, instead of saying, I'm just gonna cut out lunch or something, what we wanna do specifically is, let's say you're having 2% milk, or let's say you're having 90% lean ground beef. What we want to do is make slight adjustments. So we can say, instead of having 90% lean ground beef, let's change it to a 92% lean ground beef or a 96% lean ground beef. So instead of 200 calories per serving, it'll come down to 140 calories per serving. So it'll essentially just reduce the amount we're consuming just by choosing leaner options, for example. Or let's say you still snack, let's say you still eat chips, and you eat whatever Doritos. Instead of eating regular Doritos, maybe you swap those for like a Quest protein chips or something. So it's about making those little adjustments. And then from there, if you're actually at a true plateau, then you implement these daily actions, and then you can start to monitor for the next month. I put these new things into place, I'm controlling the variables, have I changed? And a lot of times you'll be like, oh shoot, I'm starting to see progress. So then you make adjustments, and then you continue the next month, and then you continue to make adjustments as you need. But again, it comes down to controlling as many variables as you can so that you just can set yourself up for success and you know exactly where you need to actually make the adjustments. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about is why the scale doesn't paint the whole picture. And this is because, again, our bodies are such complex systems, and what we want to really focus on is body composition, body recomposition. Let's say you're going from a sedentary lifestyle and then you've been incorporating exercise and strength training and more daily movement. Your body's naturally going to be changing on its own. You're going to be developing muscle underneath the skin, underneath the fat, and you're going to be seeing a change. But the things we really want to start to pay attention to are more than just the scale. We want to pay attention to, are we getting stronger? Are our clothes fitting better? Are the progress photos month to month seeing a noticeable difference? Or when you're looking in the mirror, do you see noticeable difference? And do you feel better? A big thing about this is, how do we feel? Are we mentally more sharp? Do we have less brain fog? Do we feel less fatigue? Do we see life and reality in a more optimistic lens? Like, those are the things that really are gonna outweigh anything on a weight scale. It's about putting those little habits into place so that ultimately we can feel better, we can look better, we can just have a brighter outlook on our day to day. The scale is obviously, a factor. We also want to monitor the larger picture. Okay, so all that to say, yes, when you're on a weight loss journey, a fat loss journey, you do want to be monitoring the scale. And these things like building muscle and losing fat obviously take time. I just want to re-emphasize that it is also about keeping the bigger picture in mind while you are on your journey. If the weight is not moving as quick as you want, but you're feeling better, you're looking better in the mirror, your clothes are fitting much better, then you're making progress, you're changing. And conversely, if you're losing a lot of weight and you're also feeling better, looking better, all that stuff, then you're also making progress. So it goes in either situation. There's so many ways to make progress, but I just wanted to clarify all these things when it comes to weight plateaus, because I feel like there's so much misinformation and confusion. So I hope you got some value out of this, and I will see you in the next video.